on the web, and in your hands. This is MDI TV.
So you want to lose weight, but the competing claims of low-fat versus low-carb diet advocates has you confused to the point of paralysis. Which is really better for helping you shed pounds quickly and then importantly keeping the weight from just loading back on? Researchers in Philadelphia wondered the same thing, so they challenged the two types of diets to a sort of biggest loser horse race. And the jockeys are coaxing their steeds, low carb and low fat, into the starting gate. Each jockey represents about 60 obese participants with an average weight of 131 kilograms or almost 300 pounds each. Low carb is powered by a diet with less than 30 grams per day of carbohydrates. Lining up in the next gate, low-fat's diet includes less than 30% of calories from fat. And they're off. Low carb is quick out of the gate and appears to be pulling away from low fat. Is this race already over? As they hit the 6-month mark, the researchers report in the New England Journal of Medicine that low carb is leading with an average weight loss of almost 6 kilograms or about 13 pounds compared to just under 2 kilograms. That's a little over 4 pounds of weight loss for low fat. But this race has a long way to go. It looks like low carb might be getting winded after that fast start. Yes, low carb is losing ground while low fat is maintaining a steady pace. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a real race here. At the 12-month mark, the gap is almost closed. The researchers report in the Annals of Internal Medicine that low carb now has an average weight loss of just over 5 kilograms or 11 pounds, while low fat is gaining, or should I say losing, down an average of just over 3 kilograms or almost 7 pounds. While low carb still appears to be in the lead, the researchers say the race is now a statistical dead heat, and the conclusions are limited because about a third of the participants have dropped out and others are failing to strictly stick to their prescribed diets. Who will win this nail biter? Here's a bulletin. After a year, the trainers have left the track. That is, the researchers have stopped actively working with participants. The riders of low carb and low fat are now on their own as they continue to race for the weight loss cup. It appears that low carb is continuing to slow enough while low fat is still on a steady pace. We're approaching the final data point. It's a survey of participants and a check of medical weigh-ins 3 years after the start of the race. Low fat keeps its pace. Low carb is slipping, and at the finish, it's low fat by a nose, or is it? Let's take a look at the instant replay. Yes, low fat appears to be in the lead with an average weight loss of 4.3 kilograms or 9.5 pounds. It's the best showing of the race, while low carb gave up almost all of its early gains, losses, finishing with an average weight reduction of 2.2 kilograms or just under 5 pounds. I'm now hearing we have an official ruling from the researchers. As reported in a recent issue of the Annals of Internal Medicine, the final weight loss differences are not statistically significant. It's a tie. Now let's go to the post-race analysis. Study author Dr. Marion Vetter at the Hospital of the University of Pennsylvania called in her summary.
We found that the low-fat group consistently over time lost some weight. So they were about 9.5 pounds lighter 3 years out from the beginning of the study, whereas the low-carb group had lost a lot of weight in the initial 6 months and even in the initial year of the study, but gradually put on most of the weight that they lost. At 3 years later, they were essentially back up to their baseline, so they just weren't able to sustain that low carbohydrate intake. Whereas I think the low-fat group very slowly, gradually over time lost weight, possibly because that type of diet may be a little more sustainable.
Now we turn to registered dietitian Roxanne McKean for an independent perspective on why low carb faded in the stretch.
People start feeling lousy, they start feeling low energy, they start having gastrointestinal problems like diarrhea or constipation. Their thinking might not be as sharp and clear. And all of this is because carbohydrate is really the preferred energy source of the body. Initially people, they might lose the weight right away on the low carb diet and might be happy with the results, but long term it's really hard for them to sustain it. And a lot of experts believe that that initial weight loss is actually just water loss anyway.
Still, low carb was so quick out of the gate. Could that short-term advantage offer something to dieters? Dr. Vetter?
For patients that want to jumpstart their diet, I think low carbohydrate diets are really effective. People do tend to lose a lot of weight in the short term. There's a lot of beneficial metabolic effects. So I think for the short term, something like that is a good way to jumpstart a diet. But I think, over time they probably will have to transition to something more like a low-fat diet that's calorie restricted as well as fat restricted.
Off and on dieter Sean Kerr says he likes low carbs quick start.
If I go for 18 months and all of a sudden I'm 10 to 15 pounds heavier, then I'll notice it, and I have one of those epiphany moments where I wake up and go, oh my God, what have I done? But the low carb diet works very quickly for me, so I have chosen to just say when I wake up and have that moment, act on it, push, lose the weight, and then go back to my normal lifestyle.
And as we saw in the race, after the fast weight loss on a low carbohydrate diet, returning to normal typically means putting the pounds back on. Roxanne McKean has a final word of advice for those who want to stay in the weight loss race for the distance.
My personal opinion for somebody who wants to pay attention to their weight and maybe lose some weight is, add more fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and limit the type of fatty foods that they're eating. Be careful about the saturated fat that's in, red meat, choosing leaner cuts of protein like chicken or fish, and adding exercise. That's really one of the greatest things you can do.
And that wraps up today's weight loss race coverage. I'm Andrew Holtz, MDI TV News. So long until the next race at Pounds Downs.